Hello and welcome to the Weird Warriors podcast. Normally, this podcast focuses on the Weird War Tales comic book series published by DC Comics from 1971 to 1983. However, this time around, it's the return of the Road Warriors. The Road Warriors are riding again, folks, and we are taking you to Terrificon. Yes, convention season. Yes, convention season is back on, and we went there to see it while it lasted. Now, Rich and I went to Terrificon, as I said, July 31st, 2021, just a few days before this recording, at the Mohegan Sun Resort in Uncasville, Connecticut. And we'll get back to you with the full story after this brief podcast promo break.
Can I get a tall chai?
And a large black coffee.
And I suppose you're here with no agenda, as per usual?
On the contrary, I'm here for comics.
I think I can help all of you. Hello, I'm the caffeinated Clinton Robinson, and I host a podcast called Coffee and Comics. On this podcast, I summarize, review, and discuss comic book issues, stories, and related media, usually in the span of time it takes to have a cup of coffee. Sometimes I'm joined by a guest, and sometimes I'm flying solo. So pour the coffee, take a sip, and turn up the volume as you listen to the Coffee and Comics podcast. Available on iTunes, Stitcher, and directly on coffeeandcomicspodcast.blogspot.com. And remember, this is where the comics are never too old and the coffee is never too cold.
And we're back. So, Rich, give people a little bit of background about the trip and start us off here on this latest road trip for the Road Warriors.
Okay, well, this was my first time attending. I've wanted to go for a couple of years, but it always seemed like I had a conflict and it just didn't line up. The last big con I went to was in Boston about 6 years back, and it was the first time I went dressed in my World War II reenactor's uniform as random war comic GI. It's funny, my real Army unit belongs to the 104th Division, the Timberwolves, which has World War II history. As soon as I was assigned there, I had a period uniform made up. The unit patch is a howling wolf's head, and my rank was sergeant. No weapons, obviously, in this day and age, but I had a belt of obviously fake ammo draped over my shoulders. I had a few people come up to me and ask if I was Sergeant Fury of the Howling Commandos, like looking at the patch. I'm like, you know, that's an awesome assumption, to be honest. I fessed up, but had a few fans pose with me anyway. I've mentioned I've been trying to collect all of the DC war books. Before this trip, I was 21 away. I hit pause, a month or two ago to save up for the con trip. I needed 3 All-American Men of War, 9 Our Army at War, 1 Our Fighting Forces, and 8 Star-Spangled War stories. That's it, folks. But I also go to cons to get signatures. I had Rob Liefeld's once, but I ditched him. Just, you know why. My misses, oh man, pre-Marvel movies, I could have walked right up to Stan Lee and Gil Kane in Pittsburgh in the 90s. I left a con in New York City not knowing who Jerry Robinson was, the creator of the Joker. They're all gone now. But I got Joe Simon. He was an amazing get. He showed up unannounced at the same con I missed Robinson at. One foot in the grave and the other one on a banana peel. I happened to have a Captain America on me that I was going to have Dan Jurgens sign. Guess who I didn't get that day, Dan. Like I said, never been to this con, and I was going through con withdrawals because, there hasn't been any cons because of COVID. My first surprise was, after I bought the tickets, was the fact that the location was about an hour farther away than I thought.
Yeah, and it was only about an hour away from me total, so.
Dang. So, well, every time I go to one of these big cons, I go online, I dig through my collection, I just look to see what I have by the guest stars and stuff like that. I limit whatever I bring to 5 books per person because I don't want to be that guy that shows up with 35 books blat and drop it in front of somebody and say, hey, sign all these. And even limiting it to 5 per artist, I still had a mound of crap to bring along from digging through the collection. Just go down the reenacting rabbit hole real quick. A friend of mine got me into World War II when I was in 4th grade by giving me a history book on the subject, and I was off and running. My mom got me into the Sons of the American Revolution. She was all, do you want to get into reenacting for that time period? So I was kind of like, I don't know. And then she found an article from a local gentleman that was starting a World War II reenactment group. I'm like, what? See, the great thing about World War II reenacting is the fact that, first and foremost, the vets are still around, and they come around, and you listen to the stories and stuff like that. And so much of the stuff that you have is authentic. I have so much of my gear is dated 43, 44, 45. And they come around and they see this stuff and they're like, oh my God, I haven't seen one of these in 60 years. Oh God, it's every bit as heavy as I remember it. And they start telling their stories and their family members are there and they have this look on their face like, I have known this man my entire life and I have never heard this story before. I mean, I've met Medal of Honor awardees. They're wearing the freaking thing. I mean, including the last living one, Woody Williams. He earned a Medal of Honor on Iwo Jima. It's just a fantastic time period to be a reenactor for. And, semi-automatic weapons, armor, aircraft. It's if you ever have an opportunity to go to a World War II reenactment, I cannot stress it enough. Go. It's a hell of a show. Hell of a show.
If only I knew someone who was involved in those kinds of activities.
Yeah, man, you just gotta, start digging on websites and stuff like that. Maybe you find something. I'm pretty sure there's an event pretty close to you in October in your neck of the woods.
Yeah, I mean,
the battle for the airfield in Massachusetts.
I just keep waiting for an invite from someone that I may have hung out with for 30 years.
Don't even go down that road. Don't even lie to me like that.
Oh, right.
Gee, Rich, I'd like to go, but I got a thing.
But I got absolutely nothing, and I'm gonna not do that instead. Yeah. It sounds like you know me well. Now, you mentioned before how you know exactly how many war books you have left to collect, and there's a reason for that. There's many reasons for that. One, you're anal retentive. B,
yeah.
So one and B. On Twitter, on the show account, someone with the handle Packed Cells was asking me if either of us had a copy of a book called Chris Pedron's Big Five. And I figured, Rich probably has it. So I asked you, and what did you tell me?
I had an autographed copy.
Of course you do. And then you also, made your own sequel?
Well, all I did was I saw he was selling it, and this was back in the 90s or whenever the hell it was. I just mail ordered a copy. I autographed copy. That's not what I asked for. It was autographed. I'm like, okay, well, yay me. But it's just that was just the Big Five. But it doesn't have what I jokingly refer to as the next 5. So I made myself a very similar listing of information that the Big Five has for Captain Storm, Men of War, Blitzkrieg, All Out War, and this other title you may have heard of called Weird War something. Third word's escaping me at the moment. It
sounds like they got added out of pity or something. They just wanted to have another Big Five. They didn't want to stop at 4, so they threw this Weird War Tales book or whatever in there.
Well, the funny thing is, Weird War has more issues than the other 4 titles combined. Because Captain Storm has 23, Men of War has 26, Blitzkrieg had 6, All Out War had 6. I mean, so Weird War Tales ran in circles around the other 5 titles.
Yeah, damn right.
Well, there's no podcast out there called Captain Storm, or
Not yet, there isn't.
We'll see what we feel like doing in 2037 when Weird War Tales runs out, or whatever the hell year it is.
we gotta have something to do in our actual retirement, right? Okay.
Well, you don't know how many episodes of the show we're going to be tacking on because of special missions and everything else. So who the hell knows how long it's going to go? But,
the Road Warriors trip will be me wheeling myself down the hall to your room in the home.
Yeah. So, it's one other little thing. Didn't you get something in the mail, Max, last week?
Oh, yeah. I did get something in the mail for my 50th birthday. And it was a birthday card, oddly enough, with a very angry-looking cat on the front. And when I opened it up, this rather sarcastic and funny birthday card was mailed to me from Susie Q, as it was signed, Sue Glansman. So the woman that we spent our last Road Warriors trip with sent me a funny birthday card with an angry cat on it, which just proves she knows me already because we have cats. I'm a big cat person. I'm a big pet person anyway, but cats are the active pet in our domain right now. So that was very cool. And there's more cool coming, as Rich will get to.
Oh, yeah. So anyway, day arrived, got up. My wife had day-long plans also, so we had to drop the dog off at the dog sitters. I picked up the kid in the Connecticut trade school, got stuck behind some damn tractor on a Connecticut back road going 6 miles an hour, and met up with Max eventually on the roof of the parking garage down there at Mohegan Sun. I decided to go with my World War II kit again, geared up, gave Max a little birthday present, and which he will tell you about in a second, and the aforementioned Air War comic that he left behind at Sue's house, the Atu graphic novel, and an Into the Deep book, all of which that Sam Glansman had done. So what was that what was that birthday present that you got from somebody else?
I was forewarned a little bit about this, but people won't hear that episode for some time where you sprung the surprise on me. So what Rich ended up acquiring for me for my birthday was something Sue Glansman donated to him to give to me. It was a penciled and inked headshot of Jonah Hex by Sam Glansman. It obviously, every word I just said lets you know the sketch itself is incredible. It's ink with the pencil lines still visible, just the way I like it. It's in a cool little construction paper booklet with a frame around the headshot that Sue made for it. It is amazing. It's just something that I never expected, and Rich is going to be able to hang this over my head until whenever the heck his birthday is. I totally remember, and I've gotten him lots of presents over the years, tons. But this thing,
let me rinse that down.
I am known for giving, is what I'm saying. But like, this thing is amazing. I have a lot of sketches. The last several years, I've made a habit of going to cons almost only to get sketches from artists, and I have a ton of them that I really treasure. But this thing pretty much surges to the top of the pack. I mean, there's no way it couldn't. It's a tiny little head sketch. It almost looks like, it's got that little oval frame around it that Sue cut into the booklet she made for it. It's amazing. So that's how Rich starts off the day, by giving me this incredibly cool comic book related birthday present.
Yeah, I sprung this on him at the end of a podcast that everyone's going to hear about, months from now. But because I went down to Sue's and I did all this stuff for her and stuff, ended up digging through a whole bunch of Sam's art. And there was like a stack of like 5 or 6 of these, like he made them for a con to sell and then just hadn't sold them, So I'm like, can I just grabbed one, and I'm like, can I just take this for Max's birthday? And she's like, yeah, sure. That was that's all it was to it. So,
and don't worry, folks. Rich has a picture of my dumb self holding the picture up for the camera in the parking garage right after I got it. So
that'll be in the book, the photo album once I drop it. So anyway, where were we? We were entering Terrificon. First thing we see on the way in is a Captain America, and me, and being in my World War II uniform, I pose with him. And man, I have to tell you, Cap doesn't know how to salute. But anyway, you'll see the photo. My son had fun with the TARDIS, and there were a bunch of World War II era Brits that were hanging out, posing with it. And they saw me in my World War II uniform, and we had to have a little bit of a back and forth. There was an expression during the war in Great Britain that the problem with you Yanks is you're overpaid, oversexed, and over here. Well, there was a much less known response to that comment that the Americans would fire at the British, and I fired this at these Brits. Well, the problem with you Tommies is that you're underpaid, undersexed, and under Eisenhower. And they're like, ooh. So,
with the 80-year-old comebacks.
hey, man, whatever works, man. Most of these guys haven't heard the jokes that go back that far. But anyway, so we go in, fight the crowds, go straight down the autograph alley, and just looking for, get in line, get signatures, get drawings, just do this crap first, time to shop later. And we just, by purest happenstance, we ended up stopped in front of Keith Williams to get our bearings. And he just sees me standing there wearing the uniform, and he just freaking loved it. He just launched into it immediately. He's just like said I reminded him of the Joker from Full Metal Jacket. He couldn't remember the names. He couldn't remember the name of the movie, and he couldn't remember the name of the character right away. It took a little bit of like fumbling through to figure out what the hell he was talking about. Because whenever I put on the World War II gear, I put on like what I would call the period correct glasses. Like the Coke bottle bottom, glasses. The prescription, they work. So yeah. So anyway, he makes that comment about the Joker and Full Metal Jacket, and my son and I both launch into that. You, John Wayne? Is this me? It's like. And Max is all like, There's two of us, Max, deal with it.
Yeah, it's like a walking vaudeville routine, in stereo even. So, yeah, it's wonderful, as you can imagine. I tell you, most kids rebel against all their parents' stuff, but yours did not, to my enjoyment. So,
hey man, we got some plenty. He's seen all the movies. He loves Spaceballs. He loves Blazing Saddles. He's got his own repertoire of Monty Python bits and George Carlin and everything else like that. We could add him to the team.
Yeah, Steve, your son is a walking time capsule in case something happens to you. is what it is.
But yeah, so anyway, I mentioned to him. I actually met Arlie Ermy at a World War II event about 10, 15 years ago. He signed my copy of Full Metal Jacket, got a photo with him. Arlie Ermy was just, no words. He was so amazingly chill. He was just a great guy. Williams loved all of it. So, and yeah, you said you had a pity purchase?
I wouldn't call it a pity purchase, but we stopped and we talked with him for quite a bit, and then we're sort of like, yeah, we're going to leave. And I'm thinking, well, we should buy something for the man. Keith Williams is a fantastic inker, and he had some books there. So I picked up, appropriately enough for the show, 2 issues, number 0 and number 1, of a miniseries from Avatar called Uber, which is about the Nazis figuring out how to give their soldiers superpowers. And it's from Avatar, so they specialize in gruesome, violent, dark series. And, we've got weirdness, we've got war, we've got superpowered Nazis, cats and dogs living together, mass hysteria. So I'm like, kick off the con with a Weird War appropriate purchase. So we'll be talking about those at some point in the future, no doubt.
So anyway, once we extracted ourselves from there, it's just like, again, we're just like kind of looking around, where are we? Who's around that we want to get? And bam, right there on the left-hand side was Pat Broderick. And, it's funny, the night before the trip, I find out that he's a creator for the Creature Commandos. I'm like, this is a hell of a time to find this out. I had a Weird War pact in my bring pile that he had done work in, but it didn't have the Creature Commandos in it. That's one of those things I would have been really pissed off about afterwards. So yeah, so what? I also brought along GI Combat 260. He did the art in a story called War Without End, which would fit in just fine on this program. And one of the things I like to do when I go to a con is I like to go over the list of creators and see if they did any old like DC warbook stuff that they have undoubtedly completely forgotten about. And just drop it in front of them and just see, that look. Like, oh my God. One of my favorite stories was Keith Giffen. He same thing. He did a backup story in the GI Combat, however the hell long ago it was, sometime in the 80s. Keith Giffen sees Ambush Bug all con long. He sees Lobo all con long. He's like, scribble, yeah, scribble, yeah, scribble, yeah. Drop GI Combat in front of me. It's like, huh. Pick it up, flip, 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 flip. Huh. Sign. So it made him stop and look, And it was the same thing with Broderick. I think we were like one of like his first fans. He was a little late getting to his table. I think we were like the first fans in the line for him. And I put GI Combat 260 in front of him. And same thing. You're going to see the photos of this in the photo. And he's just flipping through the book. He's like, man, it got him hard. He was like, it's from 1983. He'd forgotten all about it. He doesn't have one of these in his collection. he tells me I made his day. I mean, I got him a Weird War 93, which was the first Creature Commander also. He charges $10 per signature, but he refuses to take my money just because of the stuff that I dropped in front of him to get signed. So I like I said, I love getting guys, and stuff that they haven't seen in 30 years or even thought about in 30 years.
Yeah, well, that spirit of giving did not transfer to my request for Pat Broderick. He charged me money for the sketch. I came there specifically. He was one of the people on my hit list. Pat worked on Firestorm, the Legion of Superheroes, and the Micronauts, 3 titles I'm a huge fan of. Love them to this day, knowing that not many other artists out there can draw Bug from the Micronauts very well. I knew I had to get a sketch of the intrepid insectivorid from the man himself. So I step up after you do your thing. I request the Bug sketch, and he tells me when I can probably come back and get it. And chit-chatted with him and his wife Trish for a bit and took off from there. But while I'm waiting, I could see him working on other sketches, lots of Firestorms in progress. And the man not only has he not lost a step, but his art probably looks better than it did back when he was cranking out books in the 80s. I mean, I know these are con sketches and whatnot, but they don't look like it. The stuff that he was doing was incredibly detailed, full effort going in, and the chops are still there. So this con was off to a heck of a start for me. Yeah, and his price for the sketch, since, like I said, he didn't give me my stuff for free, was still really reasonable compared to a lot of the people there. I mean, Pat probably could have gotten more money out of me, and I'll say that now that we're gone.
But so got my stuff signed, same thing, head on a swivel. Okay, who's next? Klaus Janson. Bam, right there. I'm like, oh, hell yeah. Klaus Janson, as soon as I saw he was a guest for this con, I was like, ping. I think he was like number 1. Get. Because, I'm a Punisher fan. I've got all these early appearances of Punisher in, like in Daredevil and Spider-Man and stuff like that. And we all know, Klaus Janson did a lot of work in Daredevil with like Frank Miller and everything else like that. So he did a lot of early Punisher stuff, Legends of the Dark Knight and everything. So it's just like he was one of my huge needs. And he's got a little bit of a line. It wasn't too bad, but it's not going to get any shorter. So bam, hop on. Yeah, full disclosure, I had a really hard time limiting my haul to the con pile to just 5 books for Klaus Janson. I'm like, oh my God. And actually, in the end, I only ended up getting 4 signed. Punisher number 1, of course. Daredevil 183 with the Punisher, of course. Legends of the Dark Knight number 6. He actually told me that was a hard one to find. Is it? I have no idea. I'm pretty sure I bought it off the shelf in the 90s at a comic book store. And of course, keeping in line with the program, Weird War number 120. He did the cover art for it. War That Time Forgot, dinosaurs, giant apes, and the GI robot. He's actually all, did I do this? And I point out his signature on the cover. It's like, huh, so I did. so that was 2 gotchas. I got a little fist bump out of him and everything else. So yeah, so getting Klaus, that was borderline worth the price of admission right there, just getting Klaus Janson on something. So after that, look around. Okay, well, who's next? It's like, where's Joe Giella? This was like in the pantheon of like old time comic book artists that are still around. There's not very many of them left. Joe was listed as the oldest surviving Batman artist. And I'm like, and I had gotten, he'd done a bunch of the old DC war books. So same thing. I went through the collection. I limited it to 5. And this line is like, and I'm at the end of it. So, but hey, you know what? I would rather that be the case. I would rather have these legends have the line, than walk right up to like Russ Heath or something at a con with no line, that happened to me once, which pissed me right off. So I had Weird War Tales number 7 reprint, Flying Blind. I've already added the photo of that to the Weird War Tales 7 album. Our Fighting Forces number 3, Star Spangled War Stories number 13, All American Men of War number 2, and Our Army at War number 3. That last one also has Erwin Hazen and Carmen Infantino signatures in it. I should probably keep that one in a safe. It was a very slow moving line, though. So me, Max, and my son Steve, we all kind of like rotated in and out as placeholders as we hunted around the con, and some horrible human being crop dusted us.
Yeah, that person waited until all three of us were together. As Rich said, we were kind of rotating in and out of that line for Rich because that line was like 2 hours long, and deservedly so. But at some point, all three of us would meet, and then one of us would hold the point, in the line, and the other two would take off. While the three of us were together, someone walked by the group and let loose, like just an awful, just one of the foulest examples of such an incident that I can recall. And I used to take the subway to a job in New York City. And I rode the city bus to Hudson Valley Community College in Troy, New York. And this thing left all the other examples in the dust, so to speak.
There was about 7 or 8 of us standing around, and we were all like, "Oh, God, son of a." God.
Look, I looked on the floor to make sure there wasn't something we had to walk around. So this is the kind of highbrow entertainment that the people expect from the Weird Warriors podcast. But man, I can tell you, we didn't expect that either. I just about needed new glasses after that.
Oh man, alive. So anyway, in my breaks from the GL line, I started wandering around. Found Mike Golden first, and I was that guy. I picked up the knob number 3. I think was the first one I picked up off the rack. Back in the '80s, and I wrote it out. The rest of the way, I found the 3-4 back issues that I missed and everything. He wanted $10 per signature, but he wanted 20 for knob number 1. And mine had previously been signed by Larry Hama at another con. I'm like, whatever, kind of douchey, but okay, fine, play the game.
Now, let me ask you, do you remember if Larry Hama charged more to sign Nom number 1 than the other books, like that day that you got it? Do you remember that at all?
I remember quite well because I got it because I just found out it was like, I think it was up at the like Saratoga Con or something like that a few years ago. He'd been a tunnel rat in Vietnam, and he did all this work on G.I. Joe, and the creator Tunnel Rat, the character Tunnel Rat is loosely based on him. So I had a G.I. Joe special missions, and I dropped that. The first appearance of Tunnel Rat, so I had him sign that, and he signed Nom number 1 and a few other books. And it was just toss, I don't even remember if he was even charging for signatures, or if he was, it was, a lot of these creators, like your first, 2 are free, and then it's like $5 each, or whatever the gimmick is. But no, I mean, there's nothing horribly special about Nom number 1. He didn't double the price on me for me or anything. So
yeah, see, my previous and only previous experience with Mike Golden was at Rhode Island Comic-Con a few years ago, and I was gonna get, guess what, a Bug from the Micronauts sketch from him, because Mike launched that book with Bill Mantlo, and it's one of my all-time favorite comic book series. So I go up to Mike's table. I'm all excited. I ask him to do a head sketch of Bug for me, and he goes into this whole spiel about he doesn't do sketches. He, however, does finished art, full color, starting at $250. And I'm just like, okay, dude, I'm not spending that much here today on everyone combined. Good luck. I'll see you around. But so in my opinion, anyone who pulls that, I'll sign this stuff, but double for that one. He can tell me stories all day long about how you're trying to discourage flippers or whatever. It's just, it's a gouger move, and it sucks. So that's my opinion on that. Anywho.
So I got him on Punisher War Journal 29. He did the cover art. Ghost Rider guests. The Further Adventures of Indiana Jones 23, cover art again. Herb Trimpe had previously signed that one. And Sergeant Rock Special number 1, he wrote a story inside called The Enemy. And he tells me that I'm the first person that has ever placed this book in front of him at a con. So, yes, that's 3.
You're going to make me have to figure out how to put a bell sound effect in these podcasts, right? Ugh.
Well, those little like bullseye sound effects. So, get him, pack up, move on. I've been trying to track down Billy Tucci because he was at the show, but every time I got to his booth, he had just stepped away. His wife was having a problem coming onto the site. Oh, he had to go to the bathroom. Oh, whatever. So it was like 2 or 3 times coming and going before I finally tracked him down. Got him on Sergeant Rock Lost Battalion #1, the new Mademoiselle Marie Star Spangled War Stories one shot, and a hyper early book in his career called Victoria Cross 1/2, when he was still William Tucci. And he guessed that there was only about maybe 200 of these things had been printed. That took him back for. Didn't tell him I probably got it in a 3 for $1 box, but yeah, well, whatever.
He probably knows.
So we talked for a while about World War II, my military service, etc. He was, impressed as everyone is about the age, that I accomplished basic at. He had an American Legion fundraiser box on his desk, and I tossed some money on there. So moving on. I got D.G. Chichester in Daredevil Batman crossover, and Daredevil 292 Punisher guest that I had Tom DeFalco and Lee Weeks sign from previous. Larry Stroman on Punisher 19 from the 1989 series, and Wolverine 44. I ask him how much are signatures, and he plays the "How much do you want to give me" game. What the hell, man? I had to ask him twice. I'm like, what? He's like, "How much do you want to give me?" Like, I'm thinking, what the hell kind of question is that? You want to talk about a douchey move? That's a douchey move.
Yeah, that's just weird. I would have been like, what I want to give you is less of my time, and I would take off. But yeah.
So, but he was there. So I gave him $20 for the 2. That seemed to be a going rate. $10 a signature or something. Al Milgram had worked with him on the Wolverine book, and he was at that show. But I ran out of time. I mean, he was another one of these dudes that finding only 5 books in my collection for Milgram was hard. Because he had done work in Unknown Soldier. He had done work in Weird War, super early Punisher. So I had stuff I would have loved for him to sign. But, next time. He was probably my biggest miss from this con. And there was actually about 10 total creators that I brought stuff for that I just didn't get, just because he just ran out of time.
Yeah, I wanted to go see Al Milgram too, as he is a favorite artist of mine that he always gets slagged on by dummies online. Like, for some reason, people like to bag on his stuff, but I've always liked it growing up. I think he's a solid artist, but his line always looked a little too hardy for me whenever I passed it by, which is cool to see, but also meant I didn't take the time to sit through the line. But it was nice to see he was always busy. That was cool.
Yeah. So finally get to the front of the Giella line, and I get my book signed. He never looks up. He's just always just looking down at the table, slowly signing automatically whatever gets put in front of him by the helper next to him who's collecting the money and pointing out where to sign. I will say one thing. The funny thing was he finally does look up and sees me in my World War II uniform, and the look of surprise on his face, even masked, was priceless. He had this, what? Yeah, there were, as we're recording this, we got the Delta variant is screaming back into the fore. And although they weren't mandating masks at the con, you were wearing yours, I was wearing mine. There were a lot of people that just didn't want to take a chance with convention crud and everything else. So
yeah, I think it's a good idea for future cons anyway. No matter what happens with COVID, like, talk about why weren't we always doing this to avoid getting the frickin' con crud cold or whatever. It's just, I was all for it. Mask on, let's go. I'm vaccinated, but whatever, let's do it.
So anyway, after I got him, it's just like, okay, so now what? Second Captain America, came up to me, wanted a photo, got a photo. I actually got a photo of me holding his shield all.
I was glad you got that picture, because I didn't take any pictures of any cosplayers this time around, but every time I saw him, I thought I should stop him, because his alternate Captain America outfit was super cool. So You'll see it in the photo album, but the dude really did something cool with it. So I was glad that Rich pulled him, and got a photo with him.
So, and just saying, that's okay. So now what? So just kind of wandered around. They had like the car corner, they had Herbie, Back to the Future DeLorean, 60s Batmobile. I got lots of compliments on the uniform, like I said before. I was certainly the only one dressed like that there. photographer got me, local journalist got me. Are you G.I. Joe? Sergeant Rock or Sergeant Fury? I was talking up, reenacting with the fans. And because I had some people come up to me that were like fanboys, like, oh my God, I love the uniform. It's so great. How did you do that? Talking about events that are in the neighborhood and stuff like that. I was talking about the history with a Vietnam vet and a guy who recognized my unit patch, whose uncle had been captured in World War II during the Battle of the Bulge. He'd been with the 106th Division. So just had a lot of really, really, cool moments, here and there. While I'm doing all this stuff, my son Steve, he was running around. He's buying hot sauce, Mandalorian swag. He got his copy of Superman Red Sun, signed by Dave Johnson. That was on my target of opportunity list also, but I had Johnson's stuff, signature on others' work that he had done from other cons, and it just didn't pan out here. Steve does World War II reenacting with me, and he originally wanted to gear up also, but he left all of his crap here, and he was in Connecticut, and just didn't want to take time to change, and it just didn't work out logistically this time. So
hey, he was wearing the Rolling Stone shirt though, so he was still representing a period of time before his own time. He was essentially cosplaying as an old person. So I randomly ran into Steve while you were in the Joe Giello line at this one booth that was selling a ton of Masters of the Universe stuff, and I'm a huge fan, so I go right in there. And I bought 2 blind box minifigures. Got Skeletor and Trapjaw. They're on my cube desk at work. And I got to hear some boorish dolt lecture the vendors about how bad the Motu Revelations series by Kevin Smith was, reading all his complaints from the aggrieved internet man-baby script that's out there. And he was summarily dusted off like dandruff as soon as he finally trundled away. But that was my, oh God, I'm having one of these moments. The angry fan who's got all his opinions from the bombastic YouTubers that hate everything. And it was cool to see someone like that just get a complete eye roll and okay, buddy, you gonna buy anything? Get out of here. So that's where I ran into Steve. He got to hear that dude sounding off too, and we're both like, ugh.
Yeah. So we at this point we're like, get a little hungry. So we go out and the line for a convention chow is like, and we're like, yeah, I don't want to spend $12 for a shitty cheeseburger. So we dropped off all of our crap in the car, left the site, got some pretty good sandwiches. Place that was like a half mile away or something like that.
Man.
We probably could have walked there. Oh my God. It took us like 15 minutes to drive there and 3 minutes to drive back. I don't know.
I was surprised to see pretty much no other con goers seem to have adopted our escape from the heinous concessions plan. It's like, oh, well, suckers, enjoy your $15 hot dog and hopefully low grade food poisoning. And it took us no time at all. It was genius. It was my idea. I take credit for it. Grilled chicken sandwich was good. I liked it. Anyway.
Moving on. So this ended up being one of those hyper unusual con though. I mean, I never did find any of the DC war I need, but when you're down to 21 books and they're all from like the 50s or something like that, it's going to be hard. And just going online and looking for this stuff, and it's the stuff that you're looking for. It's like they want, $200, $300 for some of these titles as it is, and the ones that are reasonable are probably in really lousy shape and everything. So I can't remember the last time I went to a con and didn't find any DC war books, but instead I loaded up on 8 Dell Ghost Stories, Gold Key Ripley's Believe It or Nots, and Twilight Zones, and Charlton Fighting Armies, because, we need show material. And they all had war-related stories, so yeah.
That was a cool booth, man. I saw an awesome display right up front that they had set up of rare classic fanzines, and it included an issue of Star-Studded Comics, a fanzine with Dr. Weird on the cover, a character that has long since become part of the Big Bang Comics universe. They weren't selling that issue, and the only other one they had was priced at $65, and we couldn't break the owner away from chatting with his buddies long enough for him to tell me what was in it, so we moved on. And that Big Bang Comics thing will become relevant when I get to my bits at the end here. So anywho, Jerry Ordway was around, right?
Well, you had your own, you'll be talking about Jerry Ordway in your own a little while here. So just same thing. Okay, who do I need to get? Who do I need to get? And got back to Jerry. I think he wasn't originally sitting next to. I think he was sitting next to Broderick. He was sharing a table with him.
Oh yeah.
And he had done Weird War 100, Creature Commandos in the War That Time Forgot. So ping. So I got to get these guys on Weird War stuff. And as you will say in a minute or so, man, he's a talkative so-or-so. There's like one dude in the line in front of me, and it's just like blah, 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 blah. I'm like, dude, I'm standing right here. I got him on Red Menace 1 and Adventures of Superman in 47, which was part of that Death of Superman story arc, which had previously been signed by Tom Grummett.
Yeah, Jerry is a bit chatty, yes. And I've seen him once before when he did a Superman sketch for me, but I was the only person in line, so I didn't mind. I mean, it can be a double whammy when he has someone at his table, like the guy in front of me in line this time around. Now, again, Jerry is extremely friendly. He seems to really want to talk to people like like you're a visitor at his house.
It's great.
He's a nice guy, but man, there's a line of people and they all want to kill you behind you. They're all staring daggers into your back. Now, this one dude was monopolizing so much of Jerry's time that I let the guy behind me in line leave the line, cross the room, and go talk to the guy who wrote Star Trek's Trouble with Tribbles episode, get something signed, and come back with minutes to spare before I had to step up for my turn. So when I got up there, I bought all 4 of the creator-owned books that Jerry had with him. I like to get the new stuff if I'm not going to get a sketch. So the Messenger, Proton number 0, 1, and 2, cool stuff. You'll see pictures later on. I had to carefully pry myself away as Jerry really wanted to talk about this stuff because these are his babies. It's understandable, but he has no idea how much the people in that line want me and everyone. There's not a lot of respect for his time management skills is what I'll say. But he's a great guy. He's an incredible talent, and it was cool to see him again.
So moving on, find Dan Jurgens. I didn't know he had created Booster Gold, and I happen to have a Booster Gold. The only reason I had that Booster Gold was because in issue 16, there was an enemy ace guest. So, Dan Jurgens, enemy ace. Also, as we all know, Superman 75, we all know which one that one is, and Captain America 25. I told him the Joe Simon miss, from earlier, and he understood. It's just like, if I have to choose between Joe Simon or Dan Jurgens, don't take this personal. Brett Breeding, got him on Superman 75 also. But I somehow missed the fact that he had worked on Weird War 100, and I could have gotten him on that also. And I had a cheat list, and somehow I just freaking missed. I'm like, damn it.
It happens. I mean, you're definitely demoted on the show, but it happens.
Because I'm the silver medalist, and I finished third in a 2-man race. Isn't that the expression?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. So anyway, just to go down I've talked before about signatures and stuff like that. Who I've gotten over the years. So just bear with me for a minute and love me or hate me as I read down this list as of now. Art Adams, Neil Adams, Dick Ayers, Brian Azzarello, Phil Jimenez, Kyle Baker, Alan Bellman, Richard Bonk, Tim Bradstreet, Russ Braun, Pat Broderick, Sal Buscema, D.G. Chichester, Richard Clark, Darwin Cook, Tom DeFalco, Tom DeZago, Jose Garcia Lopez, Joe Giella, Keith Giffen, Sam Glanzman, Mike Golden, Dan Green, Tom Grummett, Larry Hama, Erwin Hazen, Russ Heath, John Hebert, Fred Hembeck, Roman Hugalt. He's a French one. He's pretty good. World War II aviation. Personalized sketch from him also. Moving on.
You don't say.
Carmen Infantino, Klaus Janson, Dave Johnson, Dan Jurgens, Brett Breeding, Joe Jusko, Adam Kubert, Andy Kubert, Joe Kubert, Jay Lee, Howard Mackey, Ron Mars, Jamal Eagle, Mark McKenna, David, I can never say this dude's name, Michelini.
Yeah, Michelini, yeah. Michelin
Tire Man, whatever the hell it is. Graham Nolan, Jerry Ordway, Jimmy Palmiotti, Justin Gray, Joe Quinones, Joe Rubenstein, Tim Sale, Alex Saviuk, Joe Simon, Walt Simonson, Alex Toth, Art Tibbert, Joe Sinnott, Jim Sterlin, Joe Staton, Larry Stroman, Ben Temple-Smith, Mark Teixeira, Herb Trimpe, Billy Tucci, Lee Weeks, Scott Wagner, Bob Wiacek, Marcus Williams, Greg Burnham, that was Tuskegee Airs, and Mike Zeck.
Nice.
Love me and hate me. I got Tom Jane on a Punisher DVD a few years ago. So, yeah, so I think I'm doing pretty good.
Yeah, man, that's not a bad lineup. That's pretty cool.
Posted a lot of pics on the Facebook pages of DC War and the Sergeant Rock page also. Ron Wagner actually weighed in on my photo of his work that Golden that Golden wrote, with a comment, well, that sure looks familiar. So I will let Max dive into his little adventures while he wasn't holding up the Joe Giella line.
Yeah, so this is the private war of Max Damage. This is things I did that Rich didn't do. I crop dusted Joe Giella's line.
That was you bastard.
I stopped by Paul Kupperberg's table, one of my favorite writers in comics ever. Found out he has a son named Max, and he said he wanted to give him the most Jewish-sounding name he could think of. Max Kupperberg, pleased to meet you. You know, sounds like someone that would be in a movie or in a cartoon or something like that. Paul thought that was very funny. So did I. I got to chatting with him and another dude at the table so much that I almost walked away without paying for my signed copy of Thrilling Adventure Yarns 2021. Want to know the surest way to get tackled by a 60-year-old comic book creator? So I also visited with Barbara Friedlander, who wrote a lot of romance comics back in the day. Some humor books, too, like Swing with Scooter, which I bought a shirt for, and a character she created. I noticed she had a sign for an upcoming project on her table with a really nice cover on display. And she told me, oh, Ken Wheaton, seated on the other side of the wall behind me. He's handling all the business end details for that. She was really cool to talk to, and is someone whose work I'm going to be looking into from here on out. She is Barbara Friedla. It's Friedla 2 on Twitter. Ken Wheaton, as it turns out, who I went around to talk to him about Barb's new project, he had worked on a bunch of IDW Popeye series that I really liked and always meant to pick up and trade. He was offering the first 3 volumes for a good price, so I bought a set. He signed them, and he did a Popeye sketch inside one of them, which was cool. We talked a lot about this project with Barb Friedlander. It's called Another Time, Another Place. It's a time-spanning romance story involving 3 sets of couples in different eras in history, each with the same names, Phil and Deborah, and a necklace that plays a role in each of their seemingly strangely connected lives. Is the necklace magical? Is each Phil and Deborah actually a reincarnation of the previous pair? I don't know, but I do know that I want to read this thing. So I put my email down to be notified about the upcoming Kickstarter for this book. And that cover that I saw at Barb's table was penciled by Ramona Fradon. Living legend Ramona Fradon, creator of Metamorpho, Aquaman artist, just absolute legend. So that's why that cover caught my eye from across the room, I would imagine. I have a Metamorpho sketch by her that my in-laws got me for my birthday a couple of years ago. That thing, you want to talk about treasured sketches like the Jonah Hex sketch that Rich and Sue got me for my birthday. Having a Ramona Metamorpho is right up there for someone like me. So, we all know Rich walked around in his World War II gear. That always gets a ton of attention. It's very unique at a con. Like, no one else is doing that. And as for my costume, though, I wore my Night Watchman shirt, one of 4 shirts from the latest Big Bang Comics collection. And at one point, this gentleman of a certain age, perhaps even older than Rich and I, approached me and asked where I got the shirt. He recognized the logo and was surprised to hear that Big Bang was up and running. And I told him there's 9 issues of the new Big Bang Adventure series being published to date. They're going right now. I told him where to find the books, to look the publisher up on Twitter and Facebook and all that. So, hey, maybe the next handful of bucks that Big Bang Comics makes will be because of me. Here I am, just casually saving the independent comic book industry, folks. It's what I do. So that was my side of the con. Honestly, someone recognizing the Night Watchman was kind of cool for me because I forget that I'm wearing the dumb comic book shirt or whatever as I'm walking around. I'm paying attention to everyone else. And this guy just was like, hey, where'd you get that shirt? And I was like, what? Oh, okay. Like this, I did not expect anyone to know what the hell this was, you know?
I was wearing a Sergeant Rock t-shirt underneath the uniform in case anything ever came up and I had to like strip down or something like that. It's a weird damn shirt. It's got the Sergeant Rock logo on the front, but on the one sleeve, he's a 3-striper. I'm like, Sergeant Rock is 3 up, 3 down. What the hell is the 3-striper doing? That is just weak t-shirt planning right there.
Yeah, somebody in licensing should have caught that.
Just a little bit. So
that made me think. And I wanted to do this. I thought of it, but, you know, I am riddled with ADHD. I'm also lazy, and I forget things very, very easily. I wanted to make some Weird Warrior podcast t-shirts for us to wear around when we went to cons, and I just didn't do it. So if we ever have a convention again, because as Rich alluded to earlier, the Delta and Lambda and whatever comes next in the Greek alphabet variants of COVID are out there. So I don't even think the rest of the planned cons for this year are really going to happen. But if we ever do get back to it, we got to make some shirts. We got to set up an Etsy or whatever the cool kids are doing, Redbubble, and do like t-shirts, mugs, and hats, at least. So
shot glasses.
Yeah, shot glasses. At least so I can order some for myself, you know? I don't care if
shop
anyone
going for the Weird Warrior podcast on the page. Give us your money.
No, I don't care if anyone else orders the stuff. I just want it because that Bill Walco logo that we got for the show is awesome, and I just want to have it on stuff to put in my cube to wear when I'm doing stuff or, you know, around town or whatever. Yeah. So we're thinking about doing that, people. So that's our thing. I
asked my son if he'd be willing to wear a Weird Warrior podcast t-shirt, and this was the moment, Max. This is the moment where it's just like, no.
Oh, so then he chooses to rebel.
Right?
Nice. Yeah. So, yeah, when it involves, like, he couldn't rebel against you, but something that involves me, he's going to rebel. So, okay, I caught some of that. That's good. It's glad to know. I'm glad to know I can inspire some 20-year-old rebellion or however old Steven is now.
20 next month.
Oh, good Lord.
Right? Right?
Good God, man. So, yeah, I mean, that figures. You will wear it. You will like it, son. You're a reflection of me. Oh man, so that's our story. That's the second outing of the Road Warriors for the Weird Warriors podcast. That was Terrificon, July 31st, 2021. My name is Max.
My name is Rich.
And we are the Weird Warriors. We are the Road Warriors, and we shall promise to make war
no more.